all you Bi-Conics Wrestling nerds out there, and welcome to, technically this is not the first episode of the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast, but it's the first one of 2024 that is going live and in stereo. Wow, there's more people here than I anticipated were going to be here. I am El Jefe himself, Mikey, here, the fearless leader of the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast crew. And joined with me, as always, I have 5 lovely other gents here who are about to commiserate with me and what we're going to be talking about tonight. So going in order according to my screen, tonight joining me, I have the lovely Adolfo, the nerdy Puerto Rican.
Saludos programas, I am Adolfo, the nerdy Puerto Rican, and I am here to talk about the Lucha Libre.
I love it. You can find him all over the Dynamite and Ring of Honor reviews here on the Biconics, the one and only JVL.
That's right. I am also here, and I'm not talking about the Lucha Libre.
The man with the plan, part of the Ring of Honor and TNA review team, as well as subjecting himself to the Royal Rumble the previous evening, is the one and only Andrew. Thank you for being my partner in crime last night.
Yeah, that was entertaining.
The review tomorrow, because we have a lot of feelings and thoughts on that. Finally being let out of the basement, and who knows how long, my regular co-host for both Raw and SmackDown reviews, Minnie. You got let out of the basement. Thank you.
I'm out. Here. If you watched the last Raw review, I escaped. The Lucha Don't still hasn't found me yet, and I'm hoping he doesn't find me.
Go check out the ending of the Raw review from this week. Minnie busted through the door. It was intense. And last but certainly not least, you can find him all over the Ring of Honor review team as well. And he just pops in for WWE and AEW pay-per-views sometimes. We love him here. You love him out there on the internet. The one and only Jesse.
I am not here to talk about the Lucha Libre either, but I do want to talk with you about the Nacho Libre.
Ooh. Let's see it. I am so ecstatic about what we're going to be doing tonight. It's going to be a good one for sure. So let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right into it.
What are we doing?
I will get to it in a second.
What are we doing?
I'm claustrophobic in this box.
No, you're stuck in this box for who knows how long.
What are we doing?
If you are not all, first and foremost, I got to do some housekeeping. See, this is what I have to put up with you guys. Seriously. But for all you guys, gals, and non-binary pals of the internet land, if this is your first experience with the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast, the podcast version of it, this is how it normally goes down. We basically get together, we find a topic and or something to do for the next, hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on how long it goes and how much we ramble on about certain things. But every month we get together, we have a different topic, we do some fun stuff, and then we just do whatever we want that's not reviewing the pay-per-views in the television series. So it's very nice for us to not have to be in review mode. And tonight, what we're going to be doing, for those of you that were paying attention to AEW over the last month and a half or so, specifically during November and December, AEW unveiled their first ever tournament a la the G1 Climax in New Japan, where this tournament was being held to crown the inaugural Continental Champion, which we have torn that tournament apart. There was a lot of, but in the end, we ended up having Eddie Kingston be your inaugural Continental Champion, as well as being Triple Crown, since he's also the Ring of Honor World Champion and the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. That's a lot of mouthful. So we thought it would be a really good idea to replicate this tournament and create our own. But because we are all big fans of women's wrestling here, we are dream booking and dream creating our own women's Continental Classic. So these are the rules that were established by me to my lovely constituents here, and they are as follows. The rules are each person had to create a Continental Classic. They needed to have 12 women total, 2 blocks of 6 in each, so 6 women in each block, and they were able to pull from the rosters of the shows that they were able to review. Using me for example, since I'm pretty much on every single show, I pretty much got I got the widest pick. And of course, The WWE boys got all three shows, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT if they chose to. The Ring of Honor boys got
I want velocity.
the Ring of Honor boys
want
got the
some of
Ring
that
of Honor women's division. AEW gets to pull from Dynamite. Well, pretty much AEW in general, because all three shows go together at the same time. And then, of course, the TNA boys got to pick from TNA. Of the 12 women that they needed to pick, 6 needed to come from the current roster, whether they are active or if they are on the injury list. In this world, nobody's injured, so you can pick anyone from there, which was a great thing. Actually, no, not 6. 8 women needed to be from the roster. 2 needed to be legends from in their prime, and then the other 2 needed to be Forbidden Door picks. So any other woman from another company or the independent circuit. And then, of course, just for add a little bit of flavor, we are treating this Continental Classic as its own separate pay-per-view. And because wrestling and music combine all the time in the modern era, each individual also needed to pick a theme song for their Continental Classic. So those are the rules. Now we get to the fun bits. So I have predetermined.
Mikey, before we
yes.
get going, can I just want to say one thing really quick, and this is from the bottom of my heart, that this was a very difficult thing to pick, especially for me. I feel, other maybe than Andrew, that I am the oldest wrestling fan. Oh, and JVL. No, and JVL.
Currently here, maybe, but of all 9 of us, Will has you beat.
Of here. But that aside, I am enamored with the way that women's wrestling is talked about and shown today. Mind you, yes, there are still improvements that need to be made, but nowadays it seems like women's wrestling can be held in the same types of conversation as men's wrestling, as just wrestling. And it's not like it used to be when I was growing up, where it was a sideshow, it was a throwaway, it was a thing. And that's what made this so hard, because I remember watching women's wrestling growing up back in the 80s, and I couldn't remember anyone's name. I couldn't remember any of the matches, because that's what they were billed as, that sideshow, as that fluke. Oh, look, women are wrestling. And then even in the early 90s with the way that women were treated, it just, I feel that nowadays it is looked at more seriously, and which is great. And it shows the long path that women's wrestling has had and still has to climb a little bit. Like, I'm sure everyone's seen that TikTok that Soraya has been passing around about women's wrestling, but just the fact that we're able to have this conversation makes me happy. It makes me happy, because women's wrestling is wrestling and it's entertaining, and yeah,
More so than a lot of the other wrestling we see on TV. Also.
right. Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to get that in there before we start rocking and rolling.
Much appreciated, Adolfo. And I said it at the top of this, but I was really excited. This idea presented to us by JVL, because he's the one that gave me the idea all those weeks ago to do something like this. So this is his baby, and without the idea, I'm going to be honest, I got really excited. I'm really excited to give my picks, because I'm going to be going left field for a lot of these. And one of us in particular went above and beyond with everything, and is just amazing. We'll get to who that might be later.
That's the closer right there.
So that's the funny thing, right? So as predetermined by this die that I was rolling prior to going live, I randomly selected the order. So here's how it's going to work. Each person is going to give their Women's Continental Classic what company they chose, who are their 12 participants, who is divided into each block, and then they may go into as much or little detail of how the tournament goes. But after that, they must tell us who the block winners are, like who are the final 2, what are the block finals, who is the winner of each block, and then who goes on to win the inaugural Women's Continental Classic. Again, some of us did more work than others, but we'll get there when we get there, which I love as predetermined by the die, Minnie, you have been selected to go first.
Of course. Awesome.
I
I probably
before Lucha don't gets you. So yeah, I mean, come
Dude.
on.
I have probably the least amount of experience when it comes to women's wrestling. I'm being the youngest wrestling fan in I think the entire group. I grew up watching the dark era of women's wrestling in WWE, so I struggled a little bit with this. I also already messed it up. I realized after how you said it, I was like, oh shoot, I picked a bunch of modern wrestlers and then a dream match I would like to have on it that were legends. So I'm going with what I got on my notes.
Go for it. Go. Just-
Block 1, I do WWE and WWE. I did Raw, SmackDown, and one NXT wrestler.
Ooh.
So in block 1, I had Rhea Ripley, of course. Mommy, I got to put her in there. Number 2, Jade Cargill, who blew my mind at the Rumble. Charlotte Flair as number 3. So the top one's a little stacked a little bit.
Interesting for the first block too, because
The
all of them will
block
be in
one.
the finals.
Yeah, you would think. This is going to be rough trying to figure out who wins this. 4, I have Liv Morgan, another stellar wrestler, also made her return at the Rumble yesterday. Number 5, I have a kind of a dark horse, one of my kind of like low-key favorites, Indy Hartwell. I feel like she needs to be better represented in WWE currently. What she did in NXT was awesome on the main roster. And then number 6, I have Becky Lynch.
Got a potential. They got a horsewoman match in there at least for part
Oh,
of the
yeah.
block. That's kind of cool.
And then my second block, I have Io Sky. I did this one on purpose because I thought it'd be funny to have basically 4 of the 5 damage control members in the block together. Because I think they're also all really good wrestlers, and I also really appreciate them. So
They
8,
are.
I have Asuka, 9's Bailey, and 10's Kairi Sane. Then 11, I have Bianca. And then my one NXT wrestler who I think is probably the best women's wrestler on the entire roster, Tiffany Stratton. She's awesome. And then, of course, I messed up with a little bit. I put the legends, but I wanted to see a match between Trish Stratus and Minami Toyota, probably one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time. Probably would be the best wrestler, female wrestler of all time. She was wrestling today. I did do a little bit of research on that one, like figure out who I wanted. That was tough. The theme song for the WWE one, I put as "Blow" by Eva Under Fire, because whoever's going to win this tournament is just going to blow up. It's going to be huge because it's a lot of star power in this one.
Yeah, we're going to put links to these songs in the description after the fact so people can find these and listen to them.
Definitely. Minnie, can you repeat your theme song, please? Blow by who?
Eva Under Fire.
Got it. Thank you. Continue.
So I'm gonna go with block 2 to start with about who I think who's gonna take that one, because that one's I think probably a little bit easier to figure who's gonna win that one compared to block 1. Block 2, I feel like it's whoever's gonna come out block 2. I feel like it's gonna be between, in my opinion, Bailey or Bianca Belair.
That's a solid final to have there for that block.
I feel like it's gonna be one of those two, and I feel like in the end it's gonna come to Bianca. We just messed up somebody's whole thing. It's not like I ripped up a page.
Yeah.
I feel like Bianca Belair is gonna take block 2, go on to the finals. Block 1, this one's gonna be tough. There's a lot of really good wrestlers that kind of stack block 1 a little bit on purpose, but due to, I'm gonna say, a little bit of recency bias here and what I've seen her do, I think Jade Cargill takes it in block 1. I think it comes down between her and Rhea Ripley.
Oh, geez.
It's gonna come down to those two, and I think Jade takes it.
Jade takes the Continental Classic.
I think she takes it overall.
Wow.
I'm saying this for 2 reasons. If you watch any of what this is one of the few things that me and the Lucha don't agree on, is Nia Jax. We almost hate her as much as we hate Omos, and that means she's doing a really good job as a character. And watching Jade in just a little bit about the Rumble, watching what she did at the Rumble and just throw by herself is insane. I think she takes it overall. But I think people like Tiffany Stratton and Indy Hartwell put up like really good performances and get into like the semis or the quarters. But yeah, I think that's how it would go for the women's version, and I think Toyota beats Trish Stratus as well in that match.
Nice. Very nice. That's a thinker to think on too, because there are a couple different permutations you could have had on that entire thing that I love, and that's not the way I would have thought about that, at least in my mind. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's this. Like I said, this. I had Nike sending me everything today, and I sat there for 4 hours. How do I do this? I don't know, but we're gonna make it work.
I love it. Alrighty. So unbeknownst to all of the other gents except for me, because I'm throwing a curveball at them. So now, gentlemen, the others that we all heard this. Minnie, good job on making yours. So now the panel is open. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts, feelings, cares, concerns, just what the picks of Minnie's. After each of us goes, I definitely would love to hear some feedback. Minnie, I love that you, of course, being the Raw and SmackDown boy that you are, I am so happy that you picked WWE because I also went WWE because I figured everybody else was going to pick the other promotions. But when I get to mine's going to be interesting. Only because I know of what Jade can do, given the fact that she was in AEW and was TBS champion for what, almost a year and a half, 2 years, I want to say, since the inception of that title, and held that thing all the way before her departure. I feel that Jade in this case is a good pick to win, especially with your premise of whoever wins this thing. It's like it's basically to help them build momentum and the shot put them up into the top of the card. And knowing what Jade can do, I actually really like the fact that now I really want to see Jade face Rhea in real life. I want that match in reality now, which if Jade ends up going to Raw, I think that's going to be fun. But I have to say, this is a strong start, Vinny. I really enjoyed it.
Not to jump in too quickly, this honestly felt to me like a Queen of the Ring that they would have built completely already. You take out the legends, like Trish could be in it, but not. And this seems like what they would do for Jade specifically. I disagree with Minnie in the fact that Jade she's gotten better, but the fact they had to restart training her again, she still looks like she's pulling a couple punches and still trying to figure her way out. So putting that on her, while it has been done in the past for me, I don't know if I'm ready for her to jump that high. But I feel like out of the people that you put in there was a lot of already champions in there. So unless you were going to go with another champion to get another belt, she was the only option that needed this kind of boost. So I'm of two minds about it, but I thought it was an interesting way to take a look at it.
I'll jump in. Yeah, I agree. I think the way you built it felt very much like what WWE would do is they put a bunch of star power. And since it is the women's, I feel like they wouldn't do this with the men's because they would risk like some of their strong men losing in this tournament. But with the women's, I think this would really help them because you put in like basically like 10 to 12 of their top most known women's wrestlers. And it also seems like what they would do with Jade in order to give her a push without having to have her outright defeat a champion and win that world title right away and get a brand new title that elevates her both through the tournament and as now being this first champion of the WWE Continental title or whatever it would be. But yeah, I think it makes sense with working with the company that you were working with. And man, the star power of that tournament would be insane.
Yeah, just in the individual damage control matches alone, they are, and I don't watch a lot of WWE. I do know Jade Cargill from AEW, and I feel that she has the firepower to win the championship, to win that classic. But just the matches between damage control, I would pay and sit to watch that all day.
I can jump in here. I like the idea of having Indy Hartwell in there in that first block because you could really push her and give her the underdog story that she needs to get some momentum behind her, and it feels very much like a WWE thing to do where we have this beautiful video package, give her the underdog story, have it be very heartwarming, and then she loses pretty early on. It feels like a very much WWE screw you type thing.
It wasn't exactly to be like, oh, WWE's. I do see what you're saying, and I've seen them do that so many times, WWE, watching them over the years. But I feel like she would push and probably pick up like a big win over somebody like Becky or Liv in the beginning portions of the tournament to push her a little bit. But putting her in a with this stacked first block was to help elevate her as a character that I feel like she needs right now. And it's the same putting like Tiffany Stratton down with the other block against Damage Control, Bianca. Tiffany Stratton's a freaking phenomenal wrestler. Watching her matches in NXT and then watching her at the Rumble, I was like, she would have I feel like her and Bianca Belair would put on a banger of a match.
That's coming down the pike anyways. We can see that a mile away in real life in there. So
I feel like it'd be amazing.
One of the finals there is going to be amazing.
I feel like it'd be her, Bayley, her, Bianca, her with really anybody on this list in general would probably put on a great match.
Well done, Minnie. Very much.
Very well done. And for the first one out the gate, man. Well done. All right. So now we go to round 2. So Minnie's Continental Classic is done. It is in the books. And we're going to work off the assumption that this was a big success because all women's wrestling should have big successes. Just putting that out there. Second Continental Classic, JVL, you are up next.
Oh, God. First off, I just also thought of this for Minnie's because he's working with WWE. Obviously, that's Evolution 2, the pay-per-view, right? So this is the all-women's pay-per-view that goes on. That's the overarching night storyline, so we do it in one night.
I want it back so bad.
Since I go for AEW and ROH both reviewing, so I got to pull from both of them as my usual, and then my Legends and my Forbidden Door were a couple of basically almost exclusively WWE. But so I have the Wendy Richter block, and this is going to be Jamie Hayter, who's back from injury. Obviously, she has to be back from injury. Nyla Rose. Serena Deeb, Mercedes Martinez, Athena, and then my Forbidden Door is Maki Ito, and my Legend is Ivory. To put in that block. So there are a lot of cross-pollination in there. You've got a lot of different styles between technical, big person, a lot of aerial stuff. It's really cool, and a couple of big hoss fights. It'll be fun. And Ivory is a dark horse for me because she's in her prime. She was an amazing all-around wrestler. Take Molly Holly and then give her a little bit more technical ability, and that's what you got from Ivory, and I love that so much. So that's my Wendy Richter block. And then I've got the Rock and Robin block on the other side. And so we have that being Toni Storm, Willow Nightingale, Rachel Ellering, Billy Starks, and then my Forbidden Door is Tegan Knox in there because give her a chance to do something, obviously. And my Legend is Bull Nakano. I want to see Bull Nakano in her prime take on Willow Nightingale. That is a match I would dream of just because of the amount of power in that thing. We get out of that, and in the Wendy Richter block, our final is Athena versus Jamie Hayter in that rat. And then in the Rock and Robin, it's Billy Starks versus Willow. We get to our final, it's Jamie Hayter versus Willow, which is our version of the meat slapping meat thing. And Willow picks up the Continental Classic because Willow would go over Jamie Hayter in that respect and take it on and be a very good ambassador. And she now would have basically almost the triple crown of all women's wrestling inside this company. And that's where I'm sitting with that. That's what I want to see.
I love it.
And my theme song for it is Fall Behind Me by the Donnas for this entire event.
Nice. All right, gentlemen, the discussion is open. What do we think of JVL's Continental Classic?
For us, as the fellow AEW statesman, I'm ecstatic that you have Willow as the winner, but also surprised that you would have Willow take the Continental Classic. Not saying that she won the Owen Hart Open, right? So we know that she can win, just especially especially up against Jamie Hayter and then some other women that are coming back from Britt Baker, who's coming back from injury, hopefully sometime soon. We miss you, Britt. Yeah, to have Willow take the championship is an interesting choice. I like it. I love me Willow. I love Willow Nightingale. Yes, but we love Willow in this house. But yeah,
I mean, she is a former NJPW strong champ, women's
champion.
Yeah,
right. Yes. Yeah, that too. Yeah, I'm surprised that she takes Continental Classic. Happy surprise. Surprise.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I could make you think. It's good.
I could see where Adolfo thinks that Willow is a surprise, but then if we factor in everything that she's accomplished this far, not just in 2023, but the second half of 2022 as well, I feel it's long overdue, especially if we're looking at the landscape of the AEW and Ring of Honor women's talent. I think Willow is one of those newer in the company that I feel like paying dues is a term I don't like to use a lot of the time, especially in this context. But I feel that Willow has done enough paying her dues that I think she should start to be pushed into some sort of capacity. And I think it's fun if you have Willow end up being the winner of this, because then she could say that she won this and she is the winner of the Owen Hart Cup as well for the women's side of things from this previous year. So I love my girl Jamie Hayter, and as much as I would love Jamie to win this thing, I think Jamie is in a position where losing to Willow does nothing but continue to build momentum. And I think of the two, I think Jamie it would be fine losing to Willow in this capacity because they're both equal. As JBL said, women slapping meat onto each other is going to be a beautiful thing. I just want the sheer ferocity that I know this match is going to give us because both of them are well-rounded. They're very strategically heavy-handed fighters too. Because if you look at them, Jamie and Willow at first glance don't look like the type of we're gonna see them destroy each other, and then they start wrestling. I was wrong. So I actually enjoyed it. I think Willow winning does make a lot of sense.
I'm sorry to my person that they didn't win, but obviously having them in the tournament also works because Abaddon is obviously higher up on my list. So
I have to say, first off, that I enjoyed it because you picked two entrants that I also picked. That one of them I was surprised by because I picked this person and another person because I didn't think they would be picked by anyone else.
Wavelength.
Yeah. But with this, I think it's similar to Minnie's pick with Jade winning the WWE one. For Willow, I feel like this is exactly what it should be. Like it's a good push for her. And she's also someone who has wrestled in Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan. So it fits right in with what they did with Eddie in the men's. So it can make sense. And it seems like she'd be a really good ambassador. She's also someone who doesn't she's not as heavily used as some of the other women wrestlers that are sitting in that title contention area. So you could logistically say, oh yeah, Willow's going to wrestle here on AEW and have a little feud for that title. And then she'll go over to Ring of Honor and defend it there, have a proving ground match, and then maybe show up at a New Japan event. And so it makes sense from that angle. And I think the tournament gave a lot of chances for people to look really good in winning or losing.
I did not like your selections at all, purely because it made me feel like I wildly underthought my choices. So thank you for that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was very thoughtful and it made a lot of sense. I'm just now a little concerned about my choices.
Jesse,
Don't be.
You're not comparing to each other. We each all have our own ideas about this. Come on.
Wait, no, I thought this was a competition. Isn't there a prize?
You win the Continental Championship, right?
How do I get out of this box then?
Winner gets out of the box.
The winner gets the big screen in the center.
I'm surprised that Abaddon and Ivory didn't go farther for you.
They may have had a good run in the block itself, but yeah, they didn't make it to the finals. I gave Billy Starks the underdog run to get her to that final like Eddie, but then she loses to Willow in the final of the block because in the Rock and Robin block, who else is going to win?
I gave my underdog run to R-Truth, so.
I loved it.
That guy's everywhere.
He gets lost. I like the Ivory pick. I thought that was cool because I actually was thinking about putting her in as well, but I was going to have her be like against Aja Kong. I was like, oh, that would have been awesome. So that was cool, and I like the Athena pick because she's freaking amazing. I would love to watch that. That would actually be an incredible tournament.
Thank you.
That would actually be really cool. I would pay for the pay-per-view for that.
My thing with Ivory was like there's a lot of people you could go through from the 90s and 80s that would be a usual pick. Someone who was always devalued, but just was an amazing worker and did her job and really supported, but it was also so good with everyone else. It never talked about as Ivory. The fact that she got into the Hall of Fame was huge for me because she was in Glow, in the original run of Glow before she came there. She did all this great stuff that no one ever talks about.
She was the Natalia of her time.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I realized as I was doing this, I didn't put Natalia in because I took her out for Becky Lynch because I forgot Becky. I was like, shit, why did I take Natalia out? She's so good. But yeah, I was looking at the same thing. I was like, Ivory was like so good back in the day.
Yeah.
But I think I have to go with Trish and Toyota. But yeah, I was thinking about putting her in too. So I like that. That was a solid pick.
There we go.
I think the beautiful thing of this whole thing, whether it's the legends, the Forbidden Door picks, or the rosters of women that you're using, is I feel that at one point all of us ran into the same problem where there's so many good women's wrestlers. Like, how do we narrow it down to just the 12? And I feel that in this day and age, we're spoiled for choice across all other promotions, and even not even counting all the independent ones too, as well. As there's so much women's wrestling. just like, it's a beautiful problem to have, in my opinion.
Seek it out and watch it. It's much better than the men's right now.
Honestly, like, I would even say 10 out of 10 times the women's wrestling ends up being my favorite part of any TV show or pay-per-view that we cover across all the brands.
Athena is about to have back-to-back year feuds,
Seriously.
like builds that just dominate Ring of Honor. And they're amazing.
Athena's carrying all of the men and women's division for Ring of Honor.
She is the Ring of Honor world champion, not women's
Yes.
world champion, just straight up world champion.
Yep. Both show. All right. I'm in the middle of this, figuratively and literally. So
Ooh.
the dice has decided that I go third now. So this is where I isolate all my constituents and pretty much a bunch of people on the internet, because I also went WWE for mine because I knew everyone else would pull from Ring of Honor and AEW and TNA. But I got a little specific. I went into this with the mindset of, because Will is not here, I am going to be the embodiment for both of us. And my Continental Classic is made up of most of the 8 women from the roster. I solely chose NXT women to represent in this Continental Classic because I think that the Continental Classic, to me, in my version, is supposed to showcase the future of the business, in this case with WWE. And I think that between the 8 women from NXT that I chose, the Legends, and the Forbidden Door picks, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I went into the mindset of what I think would make good storylines over the course of this Continental Classic. So my writer self was what was at the forefront for this. I get a very philosophical when it comes to these things. If you saw the Forbidden Door episode, or you listened to that one or watched it, you know that I'm very methodical when it comes to this. Andrew got to peek inside of my brain with that one, so that was a lot of fun. The way that I broke up the blocks this time is that I used the goddess Minerva as the example, and thus, from a philosophical and a historical standpoint, helped me divide them into the blocks as well. My roster for the Continental Classic, the 8 women that I chose from NXT are Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Gigi Dolan, Nikita Lyons, Fallon Henley, and Thea Hale are the women for NXT. My 2 legends are from WWE in their prime, Trish Stratus and Mickie James. And then my Forbidden Door picks from TNA, Jordan Grace, and from AEW, La Mera Mera herself, Thunder Rosa. There's also going to be a thing where a good chunk of these picks I also picked because I want to represent my Latinas in wrestling too, which is very important to me. Representing the Blue Concord, not the blocks, kind of inspiration from Minerva and just the regality and the grace that comes with the goddess Minerva. In the Blue Concord, it is Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Gigi Dolan. Oh, I forgot. Tiffany is in here too. I was like, why am I missing somebody? So in the Blue Concord, it's Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Gigi Dolan, Tiffany Stratton, Thunder Rosa, and oh wait, that's my old one. Hang on. I changed out Trish for Beth Phoenix because I was like, I miss Beth. I want to see Beth wrestle. We're off to a great
Mikey.
start.
Oh, Mikey.
This is my turn, okay? Cora, Roxanne, Gigi, Tiffany, Thunder, and Beth are in the Blue Concord. And then in the Gold Concord is Nikita Lyons, Fallon Henley, Kalani Jordan, Thea Hale, Jordan Grace, and Mickie James. There's a reason I put Jordan and Mickie in there because I just want to see them fight one more time. I'm going to get a little bit more detail with this. The main storylines going through this Continental Classic are as follows for me. In the Gold Concord, the biggest 2 stories to come out of this is Jordan Grace is going to be dominating that Concord, only due to the fact that these NXT girls have to give it everything they got to go up against the juggernaut herself, Jordan Grace. And so she's going to have a dominating performance. But the other story to come out of this is the underdog card that I gave for the Gold Concord in Kalani Jordan. She is fairly newer to NXT, but she has risen up through the ranks, and now this is a big proving ground for her of whether or not she is going to be part of the upper echelon of the women's division in the future. And she has a pretty good showing. In the Blue Concord, the two main stories going through this is, first of all, three actually. Beth Phoenix coming back in after all this time to see if she still has it. So that's her journey throughout this whole entire thing. I also have Thunder coming back in from recently from injury, doubting to see if her in-ring ability is just as good before her injury, and also testing herself against some unknown opposition, given that she has not faced any of these women before. And my underdog pick for the Blue Concord goes to Roxanne Perez. Being one of the youngest of the whole entire tournament, between her and Cora and Gigi being those three, and basically all these girls under in their 20s, Roxanne has a lot to prove, especially since joining NXT. Her biggest merit to this date was being the ROH Women's Champion at 1.2, and then losing that title, signing to NXT, and then coming in and having a run that it is. But now that she's had a couple of years in NXT, this is her time to prove to those watching the Continental Classic that she deserved to win that NXT championship when she did, and to prove to everyone that she still has it. Because right now, and I'm pulling from real life circumstances, the internet has turned on Roxanne for some odd reason, and I don't understand why. So Roxanne's here to prove of why she can be everyone's favorite. After a hard-fought battle between the Blue and Gold Concords, dominating the Blue Concord, your final match of this block is going to be Thunder Rosa versus Roxanne Perez. I have to get my Latina girls the chance to shine, and I think this is going to be fun. And then the finals of the Gold Concord, Jordan Grace, and surprisingly, Mickie James.
That's a TNA match from literally like about a month ago.
And if you tend to watch it and not call it an indie promotion, you would know why it's so good. But I had to throw shade in there at some point. But my winner for the Gold Concord block is Jordan Grace. My winner for the Blue is Roxanne Perez. So in the finals of the Continental Classic, Jordan Grace versus Roxanne Perez. And what is going to be a versatile, hard-hitting, very energetic, fun match, which is going to be really great. And at the end, when the dust settles, the winner of the Continental Classic for my version is going to be Roxanne Perez. She is going to be the winner. And last but certainly not least, while this whole tournament is going on, my theme song is going to be Sensitive by Honey Revenge, one of my favorite female-fronted punk bands right now, thanks to the internet. But that is my Continental Classic. Now I open it up to the panel to rip it apart.
That was horrible. No, I'm kidding.
Totally.
You definitely almost used up every adjective that there was in the dictionary. I'm running out. I've got to cross out some of the ones I had written down. But I like the whole concept. It made sense storytelling-wise. I like seeing Jordan Grace as the Forbidden Door go further into it than just, she got some points. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well thought out.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew. Go.
I do have to say, Mikey, no Gail Kim.
See, I thought about it too. But if I'm going to be completely honest, had I used the TNA women's roster, I would have picked her, because I don't want to give WWE any kudos for having Gail Kim on their roster, because they treated her horribly and TNA treated her so much more better when she moved over there. So if I had to use TNA as my women's roster, for sure Gail Kim was going to be the legend for TNA. And to be honest, I associate her amazing work with TNA more than I do with WWE, unfortunately, because again, WWE treated a lot of their women's legends really bad during that time.
Yeah, no notes.
I'm going through my head of all the people you could have picked for your Forbidden Door or legends. Yeah, I'm surprised there weren't like either some more TNA legends that you could have brought across or something else, just because of how much you love that. But at the same time, I do love the other fact that this feels like, again, the tournament to bring up new talent, to showcase new talent. NXT would totally do this. Yep. They would totally do all that stuff. And of course, Jordan Grace still wouldn't win anything else. Even like the Rumble, she'd get in, have a good little run, and then be knocked out. It's basically, it's a solid setup to really showcase why you should be watching the product versus anything else to do with the title itself. And I love that about it, where, you know, instead of just names and big matches, you can definitely say this is the reason to do. It's selling the brand.
I feel like this is the championship in NXT that they would do this for. You would hold the title, and it would mean that the person that wins that is basically that's your golden ticket to the main show. Like you've now, it's almost like we crown you the champion so you can leave. They used to do it with the NXT title, but it's a kind of fun way to do that because it's here's our senior class who's the valedictorian. And I'm just getting back into NXT, so some of these people I recognize, but it would be really exciting to see them in this tournament, especially with some of the Forbidden Door and legends that you picked to put in there. I like that you pulled out Beth Phoenix too, because I think like Ivory, she's another person that kind of gets lost when we're thinking of generations of women's legends wrestlers. And I think that was a pretty cool pick.
I will say I did pick Jordan Grace for TNA, but it literally came down to a coin toss because for me, for my Forbidden Door pick for TNA, it was between Jordan or Masha Slamovich. I was like, if I'm thinking of the current knockouts division right now, even including all the new signees they had, I was like, if I wanted a knockout to represent TNA, I was like, yeah, Jordan or Masha would be the best pick because they're pretty much identical, part of the same coin as well. They're both powerhouses. Masha's a little more violent,
Yeah.
but it literally came down to a coin flip because I couldn't choose between the two of them, and it just happened that Jordan won that coin flip.
I was surprised you had your Forbidden Door and your Legends picks go so far and haven't beat all your little NXT girls that you love so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I do Roxanne Perez pick the win. I almost put her in mine as well because I think what she's been doing, watching her, what she's been doing in NXT, she's been balling out down there. And that is a stacked NXT roster for your women. I do like the storylines, and actually it's pushing the talent to get ready for the main roster. And hopefully, with how everything is going, they maintain that momentum going into the main roster. And it continues to show like whoever wins this is not just your average WWE wrestler. This is a star that's coming in that's going to make a huge splash in the big see that is Raw or SmackDown.
And that's why, obviously, because Will's not here, so I had to represent the NXT boys between me and him as well, because we both review NXT. But one thing that, and I'm going back on what I say on the reviews too, is that NXT, by all definition, is your developmental because you're bringing in people newer to wrestling or younger talent or young independent talent as well, because NXT pretty much has an open door between your regular collegiate athletes. You have some smaller independent names like Roxanne has made a name on the independent circuit, went in Ring of Honor when the world shut down as well. She held it down as the women's champion during that era as well. And it's essentially your developmental, but I also wanted to take the opportunity to use this as a showcase because these women will eventually end up on the main roster, whether it be SmackDown or Raw. And NXT essentially while it is developmental, I also consider it a third brand. And it's not because I reviewed the NXT shows and the pay-per-views, but a lot of the times because they have the drive to show what they can do, not just the women, but the men too. NXT's pay-per-views end up being some of my favorites because I don't want to say main roster talent. There's a sense of complacency with the matches that we get sometimes on main roster for the pay-per-views because they made it to the big leagues and some of them have been there for a while. The NXT men and women have a lot to prove. They have a big chip on their shoulder because eventually they want to end up on main roster, but they also want to show out that NXT needs to be considered a third brand and not just developmental. So a lot of the women that I picked from the NXT roster, I think with a little more polish and a little bit more training and just some improvements in certain areas, the six women that I picked for NXT, I think are your future talents. Roxanne, Cora, Gigi, Thea Hale, Fallon Henley. And even though I question her ring gear from time to time, I honestly think with a little more work, I think Nikita Lyons does have potential to be pretty fun as well. It was really tough though, because there's a lot of NXT women. I wanted to put Blair in here, Blair Davenport in this, but I figured that I wanted to try to give it to the younger girls that NXT has put a lot of stock in, because Blair has an accomplished in NXT UK and the independents as well. And then, of course, I refrained from choosing champions. Otherwise, if she wasn't champion night right now, I definitely would have thrown Lyra Valkyria into this mix as well, because I think she's also a phenomenal talent. But because she is currently NXT Women's Champion, she's going to be set. She's going to be fine. She already got the stamp of approval from Becky Lynch. So it's just like literally train the girl back in Ireland. But that is my Continental Classic. And for anyone that cares, I actually did the whole entire grid and gave everybody the points. At the end of
Weren't
the
we
tournament,
supposed to?
I mean, it was yes and no, but really quickly, and this is where everyone's going to turn on me on the internet, but in the Blue Concord, the final total is that Cora Jade got 0 points. Roxanne got 8. Gigi got 4. Tiffany got 2 points. Thunder got 9. And Beth Phoenix ended up with 7. So your top 3, first place of the block was Thunder. Second was Roxanne. And then Beth ended up in third. And funny enough, Thunder and Beth's match was the only tie in that block, because I couldn't pick. And then in the Gold Concord, Nikita Lyons ended up with 6. Fallon Henley ended up with 2. Kalani Jordan ended up with 6. Thea Hale got no points. And Jordan Grace got 9. Mickey James got 7. So Mickey and Jordan's match in the block was the only one that ended up in a tie as well. So therefore, that concludes my presentation on my Continental Classic. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Shawn Michaels, if you're listening, please, I have great ideas. Ava Rain, give me a call. Now, Ava Rain as general manager is still a thing I'm trying to get used to. Nepotism. No, I was kidding. I love you, Ava. Don't hurt me. You and your dad can hurt me.
Won't open that can of worms.
Yeah, no. That we'll save that for a later podcast, and potentially may talk about that a tiny bit tomorrow during the Royal Rumble review. All right. We all been doing our best here, but now it's time for the person to blow us out of the water. Fourth is going to be Andrew. So hang on. Let me get all you set up. All right, Andrew. I also have your slideshow. So whenever you need it, just let me know and I will put it up. But go for it.
Playing right now. But so mine was a women's Continental Classic. I tried to take the idea of what AEW did and give it a little bit of story behind it. So the 3 companies involved in my Continental Championship tournament are Ring of Honor, TNA, because we reviewed them, and then NWA got involved because of my Forbidden Door pick. So the premise of this, because 3 entrants in this are currently women's champions for the 3 presented companies, is the NWA Women's Television Champion, Max the Impaler, who is one of my Forbidden Door picks, who, as of right now, is the NWA Women's Television Champion, but had a match that hasn't been shown yet with Mims, who's their Men's Television Champion, to unify the 2 titles. So the logic is that the replacement title of that will be the NWA Continental Championship, which is a title that will be defended across NWA, TNA, and Ring of Honor. And this tournament will crown the United States Triple Crown Championship instead of the American Triple Crown Championship. The song for my tournament is Battle Royale by Apache featuring Panther. So I had the ROH NWA block. My ROH picks were Athena as the ROH Women's Champion, Taya Valkyrie, Queen Aminata, and Rachel Ellering. My Forbidden Door pick for that block is Max the Impaler as the NWA Women's Television Champion, and my Legends pick was Bull Nakano. My thing with this was we got a lot of powerhouses in this. In last place was Rachel Ellering, who picked up 1 win and a tie against Bull Nakano, because I figured those 2 just threw each other around and beat the crap out of each other for the whole time limit, and really showed what they could do. Queen Aminata and Taya Valkyrie came in next with 6 points, so 2 victories each. And then Bull Nakano had 7 points with 2 victories and a tie, leaving Max the Impaler and Athena with 12 points because they only suffered 1 loss. Max's loss was against Athena, which I feel like there were probably some shenanigans involved in there. And then Athena's only loss came against Taya, because I figured that was a nice bump for where Taya is and all that. So the finals for that were Max the Impaler rematching against Athena. And we'll get into my final pick after I show you my my TNA and AAA, because they do have a partnership now. So they're able to use wrestlers from each other's company. So that enabled me to bring in a AAA person as a TNA person. So my picks were Jordan Grace, Kylan King, Masha Slamovich, and then coming over from AAA to TNA was Sexy Star 2. Not the problematic one, at least not yet. My Forbidden Door pick for this was The Beast from Women of Wrestling, so WOW. And then my legend was Medusa, also known as Alundra Blaze. As a kid who grew up, especially in leading into the Monday Night Wars and everything, she's just iconic when I think of women's wrestling, and she's also someone that doesn't get talked about as much. And then happenstance, when I was looking through pictures of all these performers, I found quite a few with her and Bull Nakano more recently, which Bull Nakano is super pretty. Wow. And in really great shape still. Dang. In this block, we had the bottom one going to Medusa. She picked up 1 victory over Sexy Star, which was probably the first match in the tournament, and then she got shut down. The next was Sexy Star, who only picked up 2 victories, but would get a good showing. Tied in the next spot would be Masha Slamovich and the Beast, who both had 2 victories as well as a tie, which was against each other, because I thought that would be a nice strong woman fight. And then we had the tie for the finals was Jordan Grace and Kylan King, who tied each other as well in their first match in the tournament, and then rematch in the finals to see who would go on for the final for the Triple Crown. And in my finals, I had Jordan Grace versus Max the Impaler. And because of the nature of this tournament going into this matchup, Jordan Grace is the TNA Knockouts World Champion, and Max the Impaler is the NWA Women's Television Champion and the NWA Women's World, or the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. So she went in with both those titles. Whoever comes out with it walks out with 3 shiny new belts, very similar to Eddie Kingston. And my big winner of the tournament, coming out with the NWA Continental Championship, is Max the Impaler. And I felt like this would be a good choice for Max, because I feel like there's someone that would actually go to each of the companies, Ring of Honor, NWA, TNA, and not only would they fit in there and have some amazing matches with people they haven't faced in this tournament or did and get rematches with, that they would also, they would show up and defend those titles. And I just want Max to get more attention and show up more places, because I think they're awesome. But yeah, that was my tournament, and where I went with all that.
Wow.
I don't want to play this game anymore.
And we're out. Thanks for coming, you guys. It was a great run.
Damn.
Wow. No notes.
You just hit every nail on the head. I don't think we need to say anything. That was just great.
Thank you.
See,
I do find it funny you had Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano back together again, and going at all this different blocks, but still.
Yeah.
I have to say, so I got spoiled because Andrew sent this to me previously, like a couple days ago. Did this, so I figured this was gonna be good. One thing I got to give you credit for, Andrew, is that I want to pick your brain when it comes to booking decisions, because this whole entire tournament, I'm looking at all of the blocks and all of your choices. I was like, there's not a single argument I can be made or even questioned. No, that makes sense. That's why they're here. And as your TNA co-host with you, I definitely think currently, if we're looking at the TNA Women Knockouts division, I totally think that your picks from TNA are definitely probably the top 3 in that division right now, just power-wise and in-ring ability. It is sucks that we're going to be missing Kylan King for a year due to an injury, but I'm hoping for a speedy recovery and she returns sooner than that. And come on, your Ring of Honor picks, man, so beautiful to watch too. And of course, Athena would enter in this tournament and just dominate most of it too. But of course, nobody is prepared for Max the Impaler. No one. So it's nice to see them win that block. And just in my head, Jordan versus Max is definitely.
Yes.
We got a little preview of it at Victory Road when those two fought each other, and I was just like, "Give me 5 more minutes of that," because it went about 15-minute match. Oh, it would be so beautiful. Good job, Andrew.
Thank you.
You are awesome. I liked it.
I was excited to share this. This got the creative juices flowing, so that's why I went crazy with all the graphics and everything.
When you have
No,
time,
they're
and
great.
access, man.
Yeah, no, they were great. That's.
I feel like this needs to be have My Way or the Highway playing on the graphics now. Just,
I love it. And also, Andrew gets bonus points for me because anyone who loves good electronic dance music, electronic like dubstep, whatever, Apache is one of my favorite artists right now that combines the electronic with the classical instruments too, which is so
Yes.
beautiful. So you get bonus points for me. All right, so now go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I was saying, I had to. I love Apache. Yeah, great music options.
I'm just excited because now I'm gonna start adding all this. We're gonna make a playlist of just all these now. Every time we do some sort of dream card build with the theme song, and then by the end of 2024, I want to have a lot of songs for it. I can't wait to check
This will
out
just
all your
be the Continental Classic playlist.
Seriously, I'm about to do that and create it for the description when this goes on YouTube as an edited review. All right, now we're down to 2.
Good luck, you two. Following that one up.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel that we're gonna, hands down, Andrew put in a lot of the work here, and so it's like that was really good. But I'm really excited to hear what both of you have left to say. But the die has determined, so no pressure. But to reveal both of this at the same time, Jesse, the die has picked you last, so Adolfo, you're going next.
simultaneously. You both say it at the same time.
Sudden death.
That's why I'm on top of them. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I saw Women's Continental Classic, and the instructions that followed, I took them, I scrunched up like this, and threw them over my shoulder.
Why did I know you were gonna do that?
And said to myself, I need like a Dragon Ball Z Tournament of Champions Women's Continental Classic. Right. So I got some help from the fam. So this was a little family endeavor that we have going on.
So Alice, thank you for all these picks. Good job, Alice.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Nerdy Puerto Ricans Women's Continental Classic. The theme song is Back from the Dead by Lizzie Hale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the blue team or the blue league. And then I'm going to give you the blue league. And then going off of some matches that my son picked, I'm going to go around the room and see how you all feel this would go. And then I will give you the booker's decision on the on what would happen. And of course, you in the audience that are watching live, toss who you think would win in the comments, and we can add that into the conversation. And then after that,
I'm having to do your homework for you at this point, but that's beside the point.
And then after that, I'm going to do the gold league and the same thing. My son picks some matches, and we'll go around the room, and then I'll give my booking decision. And then at the very end, I will give you who wins the Nerdy Puerto Rican Continental Classic. Starting off for the blue league, we have the fabulous Moola, Lita, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Timeless Tony Storm, and Zelina Vega. So the first match that we pulled is the fabulous Moola versus Zelina Vega. I'm just going to go across as it appears on my screen. JVL, fabulous Moola, Zelina Vega. Who do you think?
I think that Moola takes the entire tournament because she intimidates everybody else and then tries to put him in for trafficking. So obviously that's the whole reason she's here. Yeah, there's no way anyone else can win because she has a stranglehold on the women's division. No, I would love Vega to get in her face and just throw it around. I am actually I'm vehemently upset that she's in this tournament. That's beside the point.
Mikey.
I can never. There's implications here. No, I can never bet against my girl Zelina. She is La Reina to me, man. Seriously, La Reina. I'm gonna pick Zelina Vega.
Okay.
I'm hoping that every match in this tournament she cosplays as something different. Every one of her matches she comes out.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yes.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Andrew.
I gotta go with Zelina Vega too.
Okay. Minnie.
I'm going to say Selena Vega because I feel like if I pick the Great Moolah, JBL's going to reach to the screen and rip my head off.
And finally, Jesse.
I'm gonna go Zelina Vega because I thought Fabulous Moolah is dead, so that's gonna be an easy 3 count.
I mean,
It's in their
Oh my
prime,
God, it's
but
in their
you know,
prime.
Oh, in their prime. Okay, still go.
So she was dead
Zelina
excited
Vega.
at that point.
so yes, booking did have Zelina Vega come out with the W in this match. So the second match for the Blue League, we have Bianca Belair versus Lita. JVL, go.
Fabulous Moolah wins again because again she has a stranglehold in the entire division.
She's still dead.
I know. Honestly, in this one, in her prime, I still think Bianca could probably out cardio Lita at that point and get around a lot of stuff. I give it to Bianca on this one.
Okay. Mikey.
I'm trying to think.
It's Moolah. We all know it's Moolah.
I can't bet against Bianca. I can't. I really can't. So I got to go with Bianca in this one.
Okay. Andrew.
I would say Bianca, but if we're talking about WWE booking, then probably Lita.
Okay. Minnie.
R-Truth. No,
That
I
was
feel,
my
like
second
where?
pick.
I feel like Bianca wins via disqualification.
Okay. Fair. Good one.
Because of Fabulous Moolah.
Probably.
And Jesse.
I'm saying Bianca because as beautiful as her lead assault is, she takes too long to set it up. Bianca will kip up, catch her in moonsault position, and hit a KOD.
All right. So yes, so booking does have Bianca Belair winning that match. And finally, the third match that was picked was Rhea Ripley versus Timeless Toni Storm, JVL.
Now, I find this interesting because this is both a replay of the original run for the NXT UK Women's Championship match, but it's not because it's Timeless Toni Storm. So there's a little bit different there. I think she turns it around and pulls it out. Timeless Toni Storm beats Rhea Ripley in this one.
Mikey.
See, now you have me picking between two of my favorite bisexual women out there. Come on now.
Also, Fabulous Moolah tries to interfere. So
Of course.
He's still dead. Stop
Referee.
it.
She's still there. As much as I love Timeless Toni Storm, I gotta go with Rhea Ripley on this one, man.
Okay.
So
Andrew.
I need just to clarify, this is a WWE tournament.
No, this is the Nerdy Puerto Ricans tournament.
So it's being held independently.
Held in the X universe to the billions and billions of Quadrant C.
He saw the rules I provided and threw them out the window.
No. I want to make sure because if it was WWE again, I think Rhea Ripley would win because they'd put their champion over. But no, I'll go with Timeless Toni Storm.
Okay.
I think her shenanigans and sneakiness, along with previous experience, overwhelm.
Okay. Minnie, what do you think?
I already picked Rhea. I already made Rhea lose once in this tournament. In this thing, I'm not going to make her pick her to lose again. Rhea Ripley is going to take it. Mommy superiority.
Okay.
He's
Jesse.
the tiebreaker.
Has got more staff than Timeless Toni Storm. Rhea Ripley wins.
it's all about the Atlas at the ringside, folks. That's awesome.
So booking actually has Timeless Toni Storm winning. And then for the Gold League, this is who we have for the Gold League. We have Mae Young, China, Charlotte Flair, Asuka, Abaddon, and Sky Blue.
Charlotte Flair
Lord.
wins it all.
Yes.
So
She's not even in this block.
Mae Young's in there.
It's
Right,
Charlotte
so-
Flair versus Fabulous Muda at the end.
yeah.
Oh my
Fabulous
god.
Muda or Moola?
Muda. She comes out with the face paint.
Oh,
So,
In the mist.
so
Yeah,
for,
but she goes to this and spits out 3 teeth.
Now, does Mae Young have her child there with her as well to help her at ringside? The giant.
Yeah, but this is Mae Young in her prime. This is Mae Young in her prime.
Oh, this is before sexual chocolate. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So JVL,
Yes.
Mae Young versus Charlotte Flair. This is the first match. Who do you think?
Oh.
Mae Young versus Charlotte Flair.
Oh man, in her prime, and she was a badass too. You know what? No, I'm gonna go with it. Even though it's the hard pick here, Mae Young's gonna kick Charlotte Flair's butt because Mae Young could take a punch and break somebody.
Okay. Mikey.
I can't bet against Mae Young, man. I'm like, they have a whole tournament named after her because of how iconic and how important she is to women's wrestling. As much as I know we get tired of seeing Charlotte win all the time, I don't think in my bones I can go up against the pioneer that is Mae Young. I think Mae Young is the only thing that would ever keep Charlotte Flair from picking up a victory. So I got to go with Mae Young.
All right. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree. It's not WWE. So I'm going with Mae Young to win this.
Okay. Minnie.
I'm gonna go with Charlotte Flair.
Okay.
I'm picking Charlotte Flair, I think, due to the relationship that Mae Young may have had with Rick. So she might want to put the daughter over.
Oh, that's
So
right.
you're thinking
There.
that Mae Young is Charlotte's mother? Is that what you're saying?
No, that
Creeping into some hostile
Just-
territory.
Deep in thought here.
Are you waiting for my answer?
Okay.
It's clearly
All right,
me.
Jesse, your turn. Yeah.
Mae
Young
Young.
versus Mae Young. Okay. So booking, we booked Mae Young to win. The second match, we have Asuka versus Abaddon.
Oh.
Why did you do this
JVL.
to me?
Go.
Mae Young. I
Goes
gotta
Muda
think, I have
Young.
to think for a second. I also, are we going like the current version of Asuka or the Kana version of Asuka? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Prime. So whatever you consider her
For
prime.
me, her prime was Kana because
Yeah.
like early NXT, like running through that. I have to think about this, but I'm just gonna do this for a second. Hold on,
Come on now. We can't.
I'm done. That's good.
Okay.
JVL's not going. JVL's not going.
Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, if this is Kana, Asuka, NXT, like running through all the women's division in Black and Gold era NXT, which is her prime, which is really sad to say because I really love Asuka. Nobody is ready for Asuka, so therefore I'm picking her.
Okay. Andrew?
I gotta go with Abaddon. Nobody might be ready for Asuka, but Abaddon is not anybody. That's if someone's gonna beat Asuka in this tournament, we're talking about Prime. Abaddon is the person to do it.
All right. Minnie?
I think this one ends in a draw.
Okay.
I like that answer. That's a good
I
one.
like that
Me
answer.
too. I'm okay with that one as well.
Okay. Jesse?
From what I've seen, Asuka, because my logic behind this is if Abaddon bites, Asuka's the only person who's going to bite her back.
Yes. And might have blood venom. You never know. Booking actually does have Abaddon winning. And then finally, the third match, we have China versus Sky Blue. JVL.
Oh dang. See, there's two ways you can go about this though.
There really are, but I'm sorry. Like I liken this to what Sky Blue went through recently with a couple of the other bigger people on the roster and everything else, where she's still in that realm of getting beat up quite often. China's going to run through her and probably injure her in the process.
Oh no.
All right. Mikey?
Yeah, as much as I dig Sith Blue, I have to go with China. It's China. It's China. Come on.
Asia.
Andrew?
Yep, China.
Minnie?
China.
And Jesse?
Sky Blue. China's big and strong. Hold on. China's big and strong, but she's stiff and can't move. Sky Blue's got the agility. She plays the cat and mouse game. I see an upset.
Doesn't she
Yes.
also have missed now too? So she can
Yeah,
use that to her
Yes, and
advantage?
she has missed now too. Yep. So yeah, Booking went with Jesse on this, and Booking went with Jesse on this, and we got Sky Blue pulling it out over China. So after the tournament, in the final match, we have Timeless Tony Storm versus Mae Young. JVL, go.
Oh gosh. Okay, this is like the best outcome ever.
The promos alone.
Yes.
Yes.
Mae Young in her prime is in black and white. That's all we
Yeah.
see of her now. and Toni Storm could insert herself into it and be in the same time period, I would just pay for that. Like I said, Mae Young is tough as nails. She went through everything that could have been thrown at her. I feel like in this thing, though, Toni Storm is just devious enough and just knowledgeable enough of how to turn everything up in the modern style to take Mae Young down. I give to Toni Storm.
All right, Mikey.
So I look at this match as the potential to tell a really great story throughout this whole entire thing. And with this current final match, there's a possibility for a story to go any which way. I'm going to stick with the trope that Timeless Toni Storm's character and Mae Young are very similar in just the way that the presentation works too. In a very weird way, I think this could work as a passing of the torch. So I'm going to pick Timeless Toni Storm to win, and Mae Young passes the torch to Timeless Toni Storm to carry it on forward into the future of women's wrestling.
The hand becomes a butler.
Andrew.
First, I like the idea that they would both come down in black and white, and then right before the match starts, they announce that we're doing the official switch over to color, like they did back in the day, and we get that Technicolor kind of quality to it all. And then throughout the process of this really good match, Mae Young comes out, Fabulous Moola comes out to interfere. But the swerve is she costs Mae Young the match because Toni Storm's also devious and uses that shenanigans to pick up the win. And she does pick up the win to become the champion.
I love that you think Moola would help anybody.
Oh, no, it's more to hurt Toni Storm than to help Mae Young. It's just if she's got to pick between one of them, that's who she would try to, but she just ended up screwing her over.
Minnie.
I feel like if this is the finals of a tournament like this, it'd definitely be some sort of Extreme Rules match. And I feel like Toni Storm would win after putting Mae Young through about 4 tables to keep her down because Mae Young will just not stay down.
Last one's a flaming table with tacks underneath it.
Right.
Yes. And some
Toni Storm would do that. She would do that.
Cinder blocks for good measure.
And finally, Jesse, what do you think?
I like Mitty's idea about the Extreme Rules match, but I could see this being more of an I Quit match.
Mm.
And I never could see Mae Young saying I quit, so I'm going with Mae Young.
Okay. All right. I'll be honest. I didn't pick a winner. I wanted to see what you all thought.
No, we did do your homework for you.
It looks like,
You lied to me, and I'm just kidding.
it looks like that we're leaning towards Timeless Toni Storm, but I would really like to hear what you in the audience, what you would think. Timeless Toni Storm
dang.
versus Mae Young. Chime into the comments. Let us know.
Seriously.
Way to tease. Adolfo, you tease.
We end it open so you can create your own ending.
Otherwise known as procrastination.
Everyone loves those movies.
Why did I get the sneaky suspicion that when I laid out these rules, I looked at who was in this group chat. I'm like, I could see 1 or 2 people throwing out the rules that I made out the window. And sure enough, Adolfo was one of them who threw the rules out the window, which is okay with me.
And we're done. Sakabo.
Somebody
That's
said
not
little Jimmy wins.
Little Jimmy wins.
Someone definitely did.
By someone that may or may not have been me, but
Oh my gosh. Yeah, way to throw the rules out the window, Adolfo. But no, that's a lot to process.
if anybody would have been able to follow up the amazingness that was Andrew's presentation, it would have been Adolfo doing this. So that was
Adolfo is his whole entire tournament is the embodiment of chaos, and I'm kind of worried. So good. I do appreciate that you got your family involved in this one. It's a really nice touch, and your family has some really interesting and pretty good taste. I'm not gonna lie.
Alice is right, so we all know that.
Yeah, Alice.
This whole event is actually going to be on a cruise ship in the middle of international waters.
Oh my
So
god.
that way- yeah.
There's a lot to process. I don't have anything to say at the moment about what we just witnessed.
And next year's will be on the blue spot on the moon, so it'll be all set.
I literally, when I thought this up, I thought about Dragon Ball Super.
That's
And
fair.
like just some random
tournament
pocket
of
dimension where just like anything goes.
Fabulous Moola's Frieza. Yeah, we get it.
So much. We have to sit with that one for a while, but good. Adolfo, that was That was just chaotic, but I loved it. And now we're gonna have to sit with that one for a little bit. All right. Last but certainly not least, the moment we've all been waiting for. And actually, I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm excited to hear what this individual's tournament ends up being. Jesse, the die has selected you to finish us off. So take it away.
Is it all the fabulous Moola? Just like all the whole tournament is fabulous Moola.
And Mae Young's hand. I would destroy any of your expectations here. So I did wind up doing 2 or 3 versions of this because I was like, cool, I got it done. And then I got a text from somebody, wasn't it supposed to be this many people? I don't know. So I'm doing both. So I'm going to go with the list that's a little bit larger. So it's, instead of having blocks of 6, it's blocks of 8. So there's 4 extra. And my logic and reasoning behind this wasn't long-term storytelling. It wasn't trying to promote newcomers. It was, hey, this is a Continental Classic for the only show that I consistently review, Ring of Honor, which needs more viewers. How are we going to get people watching this program and watching this product? And so that's where this came from. So for the current talent I have in here for my first block, I've got Athena, Mercedes Martinez, Layla Hirsch, Willow Nightingale, Taya Valkyrie, Robin Renegade. Hold on.
Justice for Robin.
We know who the Jay Lethal of this tournament's going to be.
Dang.
As my legend for the first block, for Ring of Honor, I have Max the Impaler.
Woo!
And for my Forbidden Door, I've got Liv Morgan. This is purely because there are a lot of matchups in here that I would like to see. Just think about, we've got, there's some we've seen before, but some we haven't seen. I would like to see Max the Impaler versus Layla Hirsch, Max the Impaler versus Willow Nightingale. I think those would be kind of brutal matches. The end of this winds up with Athena versus Liv Morgan, which is a WWE rematch here. And Athena, as the current champ and workhorse of that company, is coming out on top in this block.
It's also like old school NXT too, because they were both in NXT at the same time.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And again, Liv Morgan takes second.
Oh no!
What's that?
I said again, Liv Morgan takes second.
Yeah, I was upset about that last night. You can ask John. We'll move on
Save
from
it for the
there.
review.
The next block, I've got Billy Starks, Diamante, Rachel Ellering, Nyla Rose, Lady Frost. So there's your Jay Lethal spot, Andrew. Charlotte Renegade.
Splitting the Renegades up.
Yep. The legend for this one for ROH, and it's not awesome, it's Amazing Kong at this point. And then the Forbidden Door is Kairi Sane. Because again, all talents, all matches that I'd really like to see. The finals for this wind up being Nyla Rose versus Amazing Kong, which just sounds atrociously brutal. And then the ending winds up being our feud that we're building to is Athena and Nyla Rose, with Athena taking the Continental Classic.
Dang.
Nice.
Dang.
So yeah, it wasn't as in-depth as or as interactive as Adolfo's, and I don't have a slideshow, Andrews. But yeah, there's where we are.
It took Athena 3 tries, but she finally won a Continental Classic between 3 separate. She's on 3 separate people's lists and finally won it. I like the Amazing Kong pick. If you watched the Raw, the Lucha Don'ts, a surprise pick for the Women's Rumble was for Kong to come out. So we even though he locks me in the basement, we still appreciate that. And I love the Liv Morgan pick. I fucking love Liv Morgan. She's awesome. And that would definitely bring my viewership to Ring of Honor, which is something that JVL's been trying to get me to watch for 9 months.
Yeah, I will say as a fellow Ring of Honor reviewer that because the only show that you watch is Ring of Honor and you did a slightly bigger tournament, it was cool to think about all of those Ring of Honor ladies like actually getting into this, which it's fun because hopefully we're building towards something like this in Ring of Honor with the television title.
Right.
The list was bigger, and I had to cut some people off of it.
But yeah, I like it because being Ring of Honor folks, knowing what all of those ladies are doing right now and the work that they're doing, seeing a tournament, especially like this, where it's not single elimination, but they like go again, like you get to see so many matches. It'd be so much good wrestling. And hey, it's not 8 women tag matches to see all of them wrestle each other.
This would be a so much better way to do it. And I had to cut like Marina Shafir. I had to cut Trish Adora, other people who could do well in this as well.
I honestly could also see like they did for the Continental Classic and like they do for the G1 as well.
Mhm.
All of the losers on the other sides in like the final at the pay-per-view having their giant tag match and having the Renegades on either side having to get in there for the hot tag to take each other out would be so much fun to see afterwards too. Like it just they all seem to have a chemistry together that work really well. And honestly, I would have thought this would have been one of the harder ones to pick a winner for because everyone in here has that thing in them that if you had picked them to be the winner, it wouldn't have felt wrong. This is so cool.
I'm a minion. I would have to go with Nyla Rose winning.
Ooh.
Athena, if you see this, don't hurt us.
No, I didn't say Athena was losing. The person above me did. So remember that.
I will say there, as it goes on, I'm questioning more and more if Nyla's going to be the one to dethrone Athena.
Oh, and my song for this, based off of the amount of power in this classic and the different body sizes, and I'm going with "Throwing Shapes" by Minus the Bear.
Nice.
Because it just makes sense.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna be listening to this playlist probably tomorrow on my walk. This is gonna be great.
Definitely.
See, now I really want this. Ring of Honor, hurry up and start this women's television tournament, man. Like, I want to see it so bad. Give it to me now. Oh, my goodness.
No, just make the Continental Classic tournament, but for the television title, and give us all these matches. Like,
it's already set. Jesse's booked your thing for it. Come on.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Done the work.
Hey, major wrestling promotions, you should hire us as promoters and writers and stuff.
No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead
and hey, Mikey, look, I did the block too. I did the homework too.
He showed us work.
This is what happens when I work with a bunch of people who have ADHD.
We all work for a person who's an actual teacher, and we know we have to turn our work into.
And nobody got a 0, by the way.
You can't. The only way you would have gotten a 0 for this is if you didn't do it.
It means no.
The scoring for each person. Nobody for me got a 0.
Everybody got
your Jay Lethal set then, because Jay Lethal got a 0, so then Lady Frost would have to get a 0.
Because he has more respect for the competitors in this than other promotions have for certain people.
I had Lady Frost beat Rachel Ellering.
Wow.
That's the thing though that I like about this kind of tournament style, which is what bothered me about one side of it for the AEW Continental title or championship.
Let's talk about it.
Was that the style of this tournament, since it's not single elimination, you have so many chances to make people look good in defeat, and also to give people at least a win or two here and there, because it's not going to hurt anybody to have one loss in the Continental Classic. Nobody needs to go through with a perfect score or like a super high score, especially when you have ideas of who's going to come out on top. Give those people a chance, but also it makes it more interesting, and you can still look really strong by losing to someone who's really good, especially if they go on and win the tournament.
I think honestly, for this as a follow-up, if somebody wants to film it, we need to have somebody on 2K24 or 2K23 get all the avatars and all the creator wrestlers of all these people that obviously aren't in WWE, and we run the tournament. We sim the tournament.
That sounds like an Andrew job.
I'll text you guys about something later.
Oh, ooh!
I got to get my PS4 working again so I can get back on 24 or 23.
Oh my goodness. Seriously though, I need all these wrestling promotions to be like, hey, give us a test run. We promise we have good ideas.
I feel like I went a little bit the wrong direction for my list, knowing what I normally do. I should have gone, and I actually thought about this when we think about the theme song, and Jivy, you'll like this. I thought about doing a lot of the wrestlers that aren't getting a lot of recognition in general in WWE, like people like Indy Hartwell and stuff like that, and go like that full roster and make the theme song "Do You Know My Name" by Raw.
There it is. Okay, yep.
I was like, that would have been really cool. I thought about this a little bit later, but I was like, damn, I should have went with that direction. That would have been way cooler. My list is still pretty good, but that would have been way cooler.
Yeah, it's got to happen. And we got to get all the rights to all these songs so we can use them on our stuff.
Seriously.
Join our Patreon so we can do that.
Seriously. Yeah, like I said, the way I went about booking my tournament is originally I was going to pull from all three rosters for WWE, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, Will's not going to be here, so I got to represent the NXT boys somehow, because me and him are the only two that review it, so to speak. And then I figured I'm looking at all the others. I was like, I already knew Andrew got TNA because he sent me everything like a couple days in advance. I was like, okay, so we got that covered. And then I looked at everyone else and like Ring of Honor and AEW are going to be covered. So that's fine. And
I went purely Ring of Honor.
Yeah. And then, of course, Minnie over here, I knew he would be pulling from all the rosters, from main roster from WWE. I was like, okay, cool. We got it.
I did NXT too. I want to put it out there.
Yeah, you
I
did.
pull from NXT.
I do like, Mikey, that you went for NXT mostly for yours because, like you said, we didn't have anybody else that was going to do that as much. And it meant for sure that you were going to have, even though, Minnie, you did pull some people from NXT, you had so many of the big stars from the main roster. And then we had a lot of the people who are at the top right now in NXT. It was cool to like see everyone across that gambit of what WWE has for talent in their women's divisions across all 3 shows.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that everyone's classic was vastly different. I don't
like some of us didn't even follow the rules.
This comes back to what we talked about at the top of this, which was there is so much chance to see amazing wrestling out there with female wrestlers or female presenting wrestlers doing it, that we had the ability to go in so many different directions and do so many different things. It's not just one company that has the best ones and a couple of others sprinkled within, which was like the 80s and most of that stuff where you had the Japanese Joshi wrestling and then Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano, and that was it. Like you can pick and find and really not be tribal about it, but find not even just the brand you want, but the people you want to support as they go across and do these wonderful things. It's so cool that we have that ability nowadays, and I hope that we shared that with you here, because you should go out and support this.
Yeah,
that's a good segue, because I would like to end this episode, and we're going to make this a staple every time we do these Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast episodes. We're pretty much at the end of January, and we are talking about a Women's Continental Classic, but I'm going to expand it a little bit. Before we sign off and go into the housekeeping and the goodbyes and everything, I'm going to put everyone on the spot, myself included. I would like to hear in order to also do our due diligence and to introduce fantastic wrestling matches to those who be like, hey, I've always wanted to watch professional wrestling. There's a lot to offer. If we were to create a starter kit of matches that, everything, because there's been a lot of wrestling this month already, just on the weekly TVs and the pay-per-views as well. So somewhere we're going to say, hey, what are some of your matches you would recommend, watching from January 2024? What would that match be? And I will say that because we want to be equal opportunists here, definitely you need to include a women's match if you can, but then also include a men's match as well.
On the spot, trying to remember an entire month's worth of wrestling.
I'll
with ADHD
I'll start
people.
I got this. I'll start it. I know.
Is it R-Truth?
No, absolutely. Anything that God, it's Ivar that's done in WWE the past month, and anything the recent push for the women's tag team championship with Piper Niven,
that too,
Green,
and Chelsea.
Kaden, and then with the Kabuki Warriors, anything that they've been doing the past month has been fantastic on Raw and SmackDown.
I'm so happy that the women's tag titles are actually a thing now. And even though their reign was short, Kaden and Katana did a lot in their short reign. And honestly, the match with the Kabuki Warriors was fantastic. But even the rematch they had against Chelsea and Piper was really good too.
And the first match the match that they won it was really good, because I wasn't even expecting him to win. But then, of course, everything that Ivar's been doing has been something that a man of those men of those sizes should not be doing. Ivar versus Bronson, Ivar versus Otis, even Ivar versus Tozawa have been good matches.
That was so good.
Both of them have been really good. He's been doing a fantastic job. He needs to be pushed way more within the company. He's been fantastic.
I've got mine if you're ready.
Do it. Go for it, Jesse.
Women's match, the Taya Valkyrie Renegades 6-person tag match. I don't even remember who the opponents were at this point.
Lady Frost, Kira Hogan, and Layla Gray, I believe, or was Red Velvet, one of the two.
Either way, go
Layla,
watch that match. Go watch how good of a tag team the Renegades are and need to be together. Again, I really hope Charlotte's okay. We have not heard from her, and I'm getting concerned. Justice for Robin. But go watch that match for your women's match. Men's match, Kyle Fletcher versus Willie Mack from a few weeks ago.
Ooh.
Just fantastic match, and just being able to watch Kyle Fletcher adapt his style to somebody Willie Mack's size as they get fatigued towards the end of the match, so that Willie doesn't get hurt and he can still perform his moves. It's just great seeing adaptability in somebody such a young talent. And then when it comes to promos, anything involving Dalton Castle that has happened this year, just be prepared for processed cheese.
Yes, you will never look at cheese the same way again. It is so good. Andrew, I'm going to come to you because I think we might be on the same wavelength, but I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, so TNA wise, since one of the only two TNA people here right now, hands down, Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay 2 from Hard to Kill. Incredible. Stay tuned for after to watch Scott D'Amore's promo. That on top of each other. Whew, right there. That's amazing. The other one is Jordan Grace versus Trinity at Hard to Kill as well. Was an awesome match. And if we're talking about just it, I'd like to throw in there too the tag team Fatal 4-Way from Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill was just amazing. I agree too, though. Ring of Honor, there's a lot of fun stuff. If we're talking about more recently, I would say it's not this year, but it was pretty close to this year, is the final culmination of Athena versus Billy and that storyline, which I think also leads into, on top of the Dalton Castle, Johnny TV promos, the Nyla Rose, Athena, Minions promos as well. So, yeah, go watch all those. You'll probably start watching both those promotions.
Okay. This one's going to be tough. Yeah, Andrew, Will versus Josh. And it was on free television, too. That match happened on TV. We didn't have to pay for it. It was great. Okay, because I watch a bunch of stuff, I'm going to try to pick one from the promotions. I'm going to just speedball this as fast as I can. TNA-wise, Josh Alexander versus Alex Hammerstone was, if you want to look for meat-slapping meat matches, like that match was brutal as all hell. And the fact that Alex Hammerstone is now a free agent and got to fight Josh in this free agency is really crazy to me. As far as women's wise from TNA, Jordan versus Trinity is up there. But one that was pleasantly surprising to me was MK Ultra versus Decay for those tag titles. Even though that match was only like 7 minutes, the fact that we got the Decay girls coming back and then MK Ultra of just how violent Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich are was really fun. WWE wise, I'm actually going to give it to Ivy Nile versus Rhea Ripley for the championship at day one. I think this was a good showcasing for Ivy Nile. And man, Ivy goes for the crossbody and Rhea Ripley just headbutts her in what beautiful spot, which was so good. NXT, let's see. Kabuki Warriors versus Kaden Katana SmackDown, easily my match of for the month for SmackDown. NXT, I can't believe I'm saying this. My NXT match of the month is actually going to be one of the matches in the Dusty Cup tournament that's currently going on. Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker versus Nathan Frazier and Axiom actually was really good and really decent. And even though this is technically cheating, Dijak versus Eddie Thorpe in an NXT Underground match was also fantastic as well. And that's one of my staples. And honestly, my favorite AEW match comes from our little Rampage. And even though it was only 8-9 minutes, it was still one of the funnest things to see because both wrestlers have similar. Chris Statlander versus Queen Aminata was my favorite AEW women's match. And then my favorite men's match, honestly, I'm going to give it to Joe versus Hook. I was pleasantly surprised with that match for the AEW championship. And then, of course, me and JVL review New Japan Wrestle Kingdom. My favorite match of that whole entire thing, if I'm going to be obvious, is no-brainer. Okada versus Danielson was art. It was art. My second runner-up was Sonata versus Tetsuya Naito because Naito finally got the big one. There's a lot of good wrestling. It was so good.
You want to go, JVL, or?
It's up to you, Adolfo. What would you like to do? We're the last two.
I doff my cap to the good sir.
Oh. If I'm going for like in the last couple month, and I have to pick something from Dynamite, unfortunately, to get people to look at, because Dynamite's been down for most of this month. It's been sad to watch. If you can go back and watch Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia, that on pay television between the interference with Nana, the way those two work together, and giving right after the Continental Classic, he's got to get his win back from Danny Garcia. It's a great way to get into that type of stuff. Kind of second only to the most recent Trip Morena and Cassidy versus Commander and Penta, which was really interesting. Women's match, I could say you're not going to find a bad women's match on most of the nights you go to ROH or stuff like that when you look at it that way. But I think nothing holds a candle up to Billy versus Athena at Final Battle. And that's not 2024, but that's, you want to see that. You put them and then the Athena and Willow match from earlier in the, like this Final Battle the year before. That is insanity that those two bookend the year of 2023, and they will show you exactly what you're getting.
All right, so you asked me for my picks on the spot, and I'm going to give you the first things that come into my chaotic mind. Action Andretti versus Vikingo. That was just, I love me and my luchadors. And if you're asking me to show someone a match to try to get them to watch more wrestling, not even promotion, just to watch more wrestling, that one. Watch that one. And then on the women's side, believe it or not, from this past Rampage, Ruby Soho versus Anna Jay. Because that is how a story is told leading up and through a match.
It's so good. I'm going to piggyback off of Adolfo. Please give that match a chance. I wasn't there for the Rampage review, but I still watch anyways. And my gosh, I was like, this is what I want to see with the women's division. Build up stories that lead to matches. It's not that hard. Yep. And even though this is silly high school drama, it's still a good story. And we got this amazing match.
It's the story. It's nothing like new and groundbreaking or anything like that, but they are just committing to the bits and doing it so well that it is entertaining and it keeps you engaged, and the story is still going on. I thought that I was done with the whole Outcast breaking up thing. I'm not. I want to see this through to the end. So
I will
that's all I
say,
gotta say.
Adolfo, if you liked the Action Andretti Kingo match, you should go watch the Kushida, Trey Miguel, Laredo Kid, Vikingo, Mike Bailey, and Jake something from TNA 2 weeks ago. And you should go watch From Hard to Kill, Vikingo, Chris
Kushida
Sabin,
and Chris Sabin. Holy crap. Yeah. You want to talk about Lucha Libre mixing with Western culture? Those are the three to represent Mexican Lucha Libre, strong style for Japan, and high flying style for Japanese wrestling. And then Chris Sabin's just a god. Like, holy crap, man.
I wanted to talk about this a little bit. We talked about R-Truth a couple times. I think you guys should, if you want to see some R-Truth shenanigans with a fun match, the Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre main event of Raw with the how Damian Priest lost was the go home show before Rumble, when R-Truth came out and was asking in the middle of the match what the password was to open up the briefcase that he has to put money in it, and that's why he lost. You're gonna watch some funny. You're gonna see why we're bringing up R-Truth during this. Check that match out too. It was another really good match. And then I didn't even talk about a promo. So I don't talk about promos very often, but CM Punk Cody Rhodes go home show was a phenomenal promo battle.
That was intense. I was like, holy crap. I was like,
see, Minnie, I had no idea why Damian Priest I talked about this when we were watching it live, why he came out and threw out R-Truth right away. Because I was like, logically, he's working with your team, so why would you throw out someone? You don't have to worry about eliminating you or your allies until you got to get down you got to be the last one standing. Now it makes sense because he's hella mad at R-Truth, as opposed to Dominic and Finn, who worked with R-Truth while they were in the Rumble together. So that makes sense now.
Yeah,
very fair. Last thing before we go to housekeeping, I also want to mention, if you want to just watch fun wrestling too, Ring of Honor from this past week, Jack Cartwheel versus John Cruz was my match of the whole entire episode. It was so much fun.
What I'm hearing is just watch Ring of Honor.
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
You got five of us here saying it. Yeah.
We get a new convert in Adolfo. Minnie, you're next. You're joining the cult. Come on.
We also got Professor Crossway to also become a fan of Ring of Honor too. We got to get him to consistently to watch it.
Watching it. I'm pretty sure he hasn't done a damn thing with it, but that's beside the point.
Wow. That's beside the point.
Wow.
I also feel like Will, if if he has time, like if he was going to watch another thing besides NXT
Ring of
and
Honor, the
TNA,
women's
it would be
division
Ring
will
of
get him
Honor, yeah.
hooked. The women's division alone will get him hooked, and Will is our biggest women's wrestler supporter ever.
Ring of Honor is not just live; it is on Honor Club
Yeah, I know.
all the time. He can watch it anytime he wants.
I'm just gonna start sending him videos of all the matches that will get him
and Dalton
hooked.
Castle.
Yeah.
I've watched one Ring of Honor thing, and that was right before Mania when I watched
Super Card of Honor, where we watched Dante break a leg, literally.
Yeah, watch him break his leg. That was the one Ring of Honor thing I watched, and I have not watched a single Ring of Honor thing since then. I heard he's back though, and I did watch this thing, a movie he pulled. And I was like, damn, okay, I see why these guys are really good.
Yeah.
So everybody out there that loves Ring of Honor and BC WrestlePod land, send Minnie every video you can of Ring of Honor.
Oh, so good. I love it so much. Gentlemen, unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of this month's BC WrestlePod episode. Yes, we're going to be doing these monthlies for the sake of everyone's sanity because we got a lot going on. You might be wondering, what else do we got going on? I'm glad you asked. If you like this Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast episode, you can also check out everything else we have over on the YouTube channel. We do the weekly TV show reviews for pretty much every major promotion. And we also do the pay-per-view and PLEs. Some of us will be back here tomorrow evening to review the Royal Rumble, which we have lots of thoughts and opinions on, which I'm really excited to. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. You can follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. We're pretty much everywhere and anywhere, except for Snapchat. Don't be sending us weird pictures, you guys. Please don't. Anyways, and if you want to go the extra mile and be a super supporter of us, we do have a Patreon. Right now, we currently have all our special watch-alongs, so you can drop some dollars on the Patreon to see me and Andrew love the Women's Royal Rumble and then take a dump all over everything else. It was a great time. I ended up watching the Royal Rumble a second time today. That was not a good choice. But yeah, and then of course, if you cannot commit to watch our beautiful faces every single week, you can take us with you on the go because we are now having audio versions of all these reviews as well. So you will get an audio version of this podcast, and you can take our beautiful voices with you to work, to school, to the gym. If you're out in the woods just by yourself for some reason, just take us with you everywhere. There's no excuse. Yes. Of course, I am El Jefe Mikey, and as always, from all the Biconics boys here and not present, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and to all the guys, gals, and non-binary pals of the internet land, remember, you are Biconic, we are Biconic, stay Biconic, you beautiful bastards. We'll see you next time, but until then, ta for now.